Traffic curing. Investments, funds are put out for investments. They must go into the investment thing.
Today, democracy in Nigeria has become largely transactional.
Welcome. This is Patito's guy. Actually, I loves to invent, I don't know, labels. This one called budget padding. When I first heard it, I was wondering, padding. Padding. Is it for football in America? You pad your chest before you go and hit somebody. But obviously, it was a different kind of padding. Now we've reached a stage where even members of the Senate are accusing the Senate President of humongous padding. And General Obasanjo, the former president, was talking the other day about the tradition of padding. He once described legislators as legislators on account of this whole padding business. What's padding? I mean, those of us who are a little slow, we need to understand certain things. Maybe you can help us. What's padding? What's budget padding?
Prof, you can lead us into what is padding? What is padding? Because I'm trying to look at the definition. Is there anywhere, any book where we can?
Well, sadly for all,
yes.
I don't know book.
Well, sadly for all, there's now a technical definition of what budget padding is. It's a sad thing that scholars attribute that lexicon to Nigeria, sadly speaking, because it's done there. So, budget padding in accounting is regarded as inflating the amount of money for a budget for it to be bigger than the actual requirement of the budget. And sadly, Nigerians are used to that. The idea that something that costs 10 naira is budgeted for at 15 naira. It is something that runs in the vein of Nigerian offices and the history of Nigeria. Because unlike elsewhere, and we are so inferior as well, where offices are set up to cut costs because you can negotiate with government power because there's certainty. The idea that when government owes you money to be paid means that government will tend to pay less elsewhere. And that is why in some countries, people proudly say, I don't do business with government because it's not what the bureaucracy and the hustle. But in Nigeria, the contrary is the same. But the case of the budget planning, padding we're talking about here, is a very sad case because it involves, for two reasons, very sad. Number one is that it involves a few set of people, identifiable people. It is not a vague problem. Then two, because it involves those that ought to be guarding our budget for us. So we have a case where in the country where those who are supposed to be keeping the thieves away are the ones looting. And that is a sad story for the country.
Wow. But they rationalize it in different kinds of ways, don't they?
I can say to you, Prof, that I just feel like I'm sitting in his classroom at Oxford and he's giving a very, very good definition of padding. When I come back, Professor Escotoyo of Blessed Memory, I will give you my own understanding of padding. Padding is stealing. Padding means that.
So after all the grammar spoken and come back, stealing.
Is
deliberate stealing. What fella called authority stealing, whereby, say for instance, an aspect of padding. legislator.
Oh my
legislator. God. I fight tooth and nail to get there. It becomes a do or die. I get there. I have invested because I bought forms and all that. I have to recoup my money. After I recoup my money, I have to make sure that I get a bit much more. So what do? I approach Professor Patotomi of CBL, who is supposed to be presenting some, his budget on training, manpower development, capacity development, and stuff like that. I go to him in the thick of the evening, like, you'll be coming to us. There's no problem about that. I have a feel that what you did last year was X. This time around, I know you are going to try and take care of inflation and all that kind of stuff. It's X plus, right? I'm giving you a go-ahead to do it X plus 4. You know, that X plus 4 is such that last year I didn't see anything, but this year I'm going to execute the contract. I will do it for you. The additional 2 can be split in between us. That is padding. That is padding. It becomes authoritative, because you now then say we are the ones that are making the laws. So we must find a way to see ourselves. Not like I always say in forensic accounting, you call about pollution. So I have colluded with you. We go out there and go and share. Meanwhile, this padding is from funds that have been borrowed.
Yeah.
These funds is for
that
our children's children are going to go into patronage before you know what is happening. And it's been on. And when I kept on saying that, Obasanjo said it's a criminal enterprise by a few. Professor Killer said, on the Pareto side, maybe a few, less than 20%, who sit, decide who comes in there to do the authority stealing, who should come, who should not come in, and under the guise of saying we are practicing democracy. The bottom line is that you begin to see underdevelopment,
democracy,
a lot of tension around, people going out on strike, hunger, and before we decide to swallow the
Let me come in here. For me, if I come from an area, from the Niger Delta, that is one of the least developed areas in this country. And so for me, if budget padding means development in my community, so be it. Yeah. Because I think that the whole idea of this budget padding is this rivalry between the executive and the legislature. And because they feel that, as ministers, they have so much powers. When they go to FEC, they put things that will take care of his own constituency. And so they, who are the ones making the law, who are making the budget, they are not taken care of. I'm sure this is the genesis of this issue of budget padding. And so for me, who come from an area that is one of the least developed, if my House of Rep member or my senator, he will bring, say, look, we need a jetty. That goes to the we need a jetty. We need a jetty in the
rationalization.
From Niger Delta.
Yes.
I have seen what they call constituency projects in Niger Delta. Latrine.
But that goes to the rationalization.
So, no. But to be honest with you, I'm not trying to rationalize.
No, I get what you mean. Yes, no, it's fine what you're saying.
Yes.
I think the point I want to make, linking your point together with the rationalization point that Professor Patotomi raised earlier on, is that if we want to solve this problem, we have to move away from personalizing it. Whether one is a beneficiary or a victim or a perpetrator. Let's leave that. And let's look at the system. Let's leave out individuals. If we look at the system, we're going to realize that there are 2 major reasons, actually 3 major reasons why we find ourselves in this kind of chess pitch. One is perception thing. The idea we have in the country that a legislator has to be rich. The idea that a legislator should be somebody who's in a place to dole out money. Not even, they shouldn't even be doling out jam funds. You see, when I meet legislators, and I'm from Lagos, and there are a few of them, who publicize that they're giving out jam forms, I'm always saying that instead of giving out forms, why don't you go back to the house and make a law that says funds should be free.
Yep.
This idea that somebody in politics should be a philanthropist is one problem.
Yes.
The other problem we have is also this idea of constituency project that you were talking about. If we can just accept the simple fact that a legislator is neither an executor nor a contractor or anything, it will save a lot of problems. Just say, look, I am there to make laws. It is not my duty to do roads or borehole or anything.
Exactly.
A legislator, if anything, maybe can advocate, can canvass for it. The legislator can go to the parastatal, can go to the ministry, can go to the governor and say, my people need this and that. If we can do that, we save trillions of amounts of money.
That is called networking. And I do not see anything wrong in how that should be a process. I'm going to also add to what you are saying, perhaps disagreeing with my dear friend and brother. So in a constituency, you have about 3 senators, 2 members of the House.
In a state, that is.
In a state.
In a state, you have 3.
Why is it that it's just 1 senator or 1 House of Reps? What happens to the others? I am backing your point. Yeah. Can we make it much more holistic? And you should not be the one that should be executing.
Oh, they all execute.
As a matter of fact, what you should be doing is because of your influence, your word becomes
you know the truth of
a
the matter
goodwill. A goodwill at the end of the day.
This thing is
you should
so
not
bad,
be. You should not be the one that
abuse.
should be giving money. Somebody said, Prof. Somebody said he got 5 billion. I don't understand. Someone said he got 5 billion.
Which 5 billion? The Senate president got. They say he got 1 billion.
Look,
and so see, my other worry is this. My other worry is this.
And it's going to cost a lot.
These lawmakers were on part-time basis, and you can even concede some of these things that
we need a citizen legislature.
Yes,
anyway.
These are people that are paid on full-time basis.
The thing is, it's so sordid, I don't even know how to begin this conversation. See, they are putting in things that are supposed to be, say, for example, desertification.
Yes.
And then they get a project in Niger Delta. Yeah. Out of that, they've just bastardized the entire budget process.
Yes.
You can't even now gauge development from the budget.
Yes.
Can't measure it. Now, what you normally do with the budget process is where you come from the planning, establish broad goals that you're pursuing, the budget leads you in a path towards those goals. But you can't, because of this
blanket.
Yeah, people finagling the thing from where to the other, when they're doing for their pocket, when they're doing for pride of constituency, when they're doing for nothing is clear anymore. And
when during the Christmas, I'm aware that the executive doled out monies to our lawmakers.
Yeah, state lawmakers.
Yes, to buy rice. And was that part of the budget, or how should we encourage stuff like that?
It's a perception thing. Until we the people at some point get together and realize that this is what politics ought to look like, we're not going to change that. We just say to us, you don't go to a doctor and expect them to give you food. You want to be treated until we change that.
The problem is us. We take anything that is thrown at us. Look at what happened in Senegal. A 44-year-old man from prison. And they said, look,
he has a clear vision, unlike
we accept everything that is thrown at us. We are too docile. We are too comfortable. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's deal with the fact that, look, our democracy has failed. Let's be honest. It has failed. And the big part of this failure is what they do with budgets. This is Potato Scan, and we will be right back. We are back. This is Potatoes Gang. We're talking budget party. And the problem, the whole concept, is that it's a catch-all for legislative corruption. I mean, we capture so many with this word budget party. But what will, like General Bassam said, is a criminal enterprise that is running, and we all somehow acquiesce to it. And people who are elected to just go and make laws and go home, turn themselves into contractors, turn themselves into people who move resources around in a manner that they are preventing development in Nigeria. They think they're doing some good for themselves and some friends, but it adds up to preventing development because it's not a systematic, well thought out process of these bills on that and can take us forward.
Prof, so project capturing is not just all about project capturing, because this padding is like capturing projects that are meant for. Now, when there are employment vacancies in this parastatus, they are the ones that grab it. If there are scholarships, if you go to a place like NDDC now, for example, there are scholarship programs, they get it. And so what are we? We go out in the rain, under the rain, and vote for them, and they get into office. They serve themselves. They don't serve the people. That's
corruption. That's corruption padding. Corruption padding. I know it has a subset. We are looking at this other aspect of padding that we were talking about. But you see, what aches me? What should we be doing? Let's go back to old-time religion, as they say. Let's go back to process. Tony, you kept on talking about the fact that perception. I can't agree any less with the president of the Nigerian Senate currently, Mr. Akpabio, that the National Assembly has been dragged to an all-time low. So, what should we then do? Can we begin
let's dissolve it.
A situation where we need to rebuild this, like development, let's rebuild this war. Let's begin to do things the way they should be done. Leave the concepts of execution to the executives. Well, they are not hearing you. You can always find a way talking to them.
The only way we can do that is if we go back to our recruitment system, which is the main problem. How do we get people into office? What kind of people do we get into office? Is it a system that is thorough?
In other words, you are saying our elections is also padded. Okay, all right.
It is.
I think, first of all, that part of this problem comes from these full-time legislators. If we had a citizen legislature where as citizens, lawyers, bankers, farmers, we come together as we used to do in the early 60s, stay in legislative flats, make laws, go back to our work, we won't have this mess.
At all.
And the funny thing about it, there's a historical misconception of, sort of finish this. A lot of politicians, and I say this because of young people, want to be politicians, who, not knowing the origin of late night meetings of politics, they just assume that it's a normal thing to have political meetings at night. The reason why political meetings are held in the evening is because politicians and legislators do their 9 to 5 jobs. It is after they close as pharmacists and lawyers that they now meet for 2-3 hours in the evening and go home. So this idea that you go for a meeting and His Excellency is arriving at 10 p.m. and we just think it's normal, I think we the people need to start looking at ourselves if we want to improve the world in which we live in.
I agree with you. Anything 10, 11, 12, it becomes a COVID. Yes, you go there when every normal human being is asleep.
So that's time padding.
Okay. Time padding. So that when the whole world is sleeping and then
you can pad on the time.
Either you put dollar.
Citizen legislature is the way to go forward. A reconfiguration, a new understanding of what legislators ought to be doing need to be padded.
Change to say never again, 1. 2, to also find out that we know those who are falling short, to get them punished adequately. And we know a few that are doing it right. Those are the ones that should be taking a handshake and should be going with national honors.
But I think it's also a good time to call on our professors of laws and politics to actually once in a while have a roundtable in their universities to talk about holding legislators to account. to have a conversation in this country to say, how do the people hold account to those who they voted to do things? We have the institution of recall, which is a very complex one, but there should be things, and I think we go to the elites, and I think people in their communities should at some point insist on town hall meetings with their legislators to say, this month, what have you done? What did you discuss? What was your position?
Should be a routine.
Should be a routine thing.
They don't care. How many of them go back?
I mean, surgeries in the British Parliament, surgeries is a very normal thing. More than once a week, your MPs sit down to meet people, and it's a very common practice.
You know why I'm giggling?
And I say this before you say that, because we say there's something abstract. I want to remind people that in the late 50s, in the regions, the surgeries were held.
Of course.
Even up till 1979, 83, Ward had parties where you met members. So they're not as alien as they sound.
Tony, as much as I do not want to sound like a broken record here, I buy what you have said. But my mind goes back to Professor Shu, Professor Matitomi Shu, remember. I was a professor of law, professor of economics, University of Lagos. His name is Familoni. He wanted to buy, and after doing all this round table and all put together, so we climbed on the podium. And right there and then at University of Lagos, Professor, we've heard you. All this English that you are talking, what is it there for the boys? You know, Lumumba kept on saying that all the time. We need a total orientation and mindset, not taking away what you have said. Because we must continue to talk about it. But we also need pragmatism. We need situations where we find any of these people that are behaving as if they are in a coven of witches and wizards and doing the night thing and giving us latrines and boreholes, and even call those who are sleeping at the National Assembly. Look, what is the impact assessment of you being in there? And then, of course, Prof, you know, we've talked about
sleeping is a national asset.
You must, all this Baba Sokwe. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not being partisan, I'm only being nationalistic. Suddenly, somebody who has been trying to get into governance has failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, suddenly got in there, and under 1 year begins to do some wonders. I'm talking about Alex Oti. So if that can happen, and you see Alex Oti walking on the streets in Aba, and people are coming out and hailing him, when others are doing something similar and they are going to be pelted.
That is an indication that hope is not lost for Nigeria.
We must all rise up. Citizen participation, Prof, yes. Our every towers, the town meeting, the gown, the kind of situation must continue at jet speed. We know we'll be able to get there. Yeah, we may not get there 100% next year, but at least we made some mileage. Unlike what we have right now, for each year, we are regressing backwards.
Yes,
very sad.
Very sad. Very sad.
Well, unfortunately, it's time to go. We'll keep at it. Perhaps one day we'll get a dream that we...
Daniel will come to justice.
Amen. Okay, you heard it. Waiting for you, Daniel. I'll see you all next week. This has been Potatoes Gang.
Wow.